Welcome to SAT TV News. I am Larry LaRocque, your presenter. In our top stories, Charles Savre elected as Dominica's president. St. Lucia government and opposition called on to support anti-crime legislation. And in sports, Randolph Peltier registers third hat-trick. Details of these will follow. Welcome back. Chairman of the Dominica Association of Local Community Authorities, Mr. Yolan John Jules, is lobbying his support behind the government's nominee for Dominica's president, Honorable Charles Savre. This is so, as he explained, Mr. Savre is an outstanding Dominican who has served this country from his youth to his senior age. A lot of the decisions he has taken was in the interest of Dominica.
Mr. Savre served Dominica as a school teacher. He did a very good job. Then he became the leader of the CSA, the Civil Service Association, now PSU, and did a very good job as General Secretary of the trade union. Mr. Charles Savre, as a trade unionist, stood up for the rights of the workers of Dominica. Through thick and thin, when the seas was rough, he was not like a weak ship, because strong ships are not battered by the sea. You know, they batter the waves and they go through. So I check Charles Savre as a strong ship, that whether the sea is rough, he will go through.
Mr. John Jules said Mr. Savre was the one who fought for the rights of the workers of Dominica. And besides what people may believe, Mr. Savre was not the individual who forced the 47-day strike in Dominica in the 80s. This strike was as a result of the then government's stubborn action in refusing to grant the public servants a raise in salary, and Mr. Savre was acting on behalf of the people as the General Secretary of the Union. It was the membership who started the sick-out and was joined by other unions.
In 1979, he became a savior to Dominicans when he was the chairman of the Dominican Association of the Committee for National Salvation. He was then the chairman and saw Dominica through the rough days of the 1979 and the problems that we had with the then government. Mr. Charles Savre went on to be an ambassador for Dominica in Brussels in the 1980s. Though he was in Brussels, but he was Dominica's representative in Brussels, doing a very good job. When his term came to a close in Brussels as ambassador, Mr. Savre returned home, because as a genuine Dominican, he didn't stay in Brussels and look for another job. He didn't proceed to go to the United States or go to Britain to look for a job. He came back home.
According to Mr. John Jules, the opposition has no argument when they say Mr. Savre is biased, as he knows him to be a very flexible individual who will not be biased in his decisions.
You cannot blame Charles Savre for any business that closing in the outskirts of Roseau. What you can blame for the closing of business is bad management. Bad management of business cause businesses to close. Charles Savarin is not the manager of the business. Any man can make a statement. So if he made a statement about a certain business, his statement cannot close down a business. If the manager of the business badly manages business and cannot run it properly and it have to close, you cannot blame Mr. Savarin for that. You have to blame the owner of the business and you have to blame the management of the business.
Mr. Johnson is of the view that if Mr. Savarin is elected as president, he has the power to unite the opposition and the government. In more news, One Mission, One Dominica is a theme in recognition of Dominica's 35th anniversary since gaining its independence. An official ceremony was launched to promote this year's activities took place on Friday, September 27th. Independence is a time of gratitude to God and to all those who played part in Dominica's continued development over the years, said Chief Cultural Officer Mr. Raymond Lawrence. He said we should strive to embrace our people in our communities as we celebrate our diversity and engage each other's unique gifts and talents for the benefit of all.
As part of our celebration this year, we have cultural festivals all over the island, starting tomorrow in Grand Fort and on Sunday in Salisbury. The festivals continue next weekend with the East Cultural Festival in Castle Bruce and the South Cultural Festival in Grand Bay. And the following weekend, October 12th and 13th, the Northeast Festival will be held at Marigot, and the North Festival will be held at the Cabritz cruise ship berth. Dominica History Week this year will highlight the theme of Coup de Main, which is lending a helping hand. We have asked the schools and the media houses to have special programs in keeping with the theme so that our school children and the general public can have a better understanding and appreciation for Coup de Main, which is a significant tradition in Dominica.
This year, Heritage Day will be held in the communities of Bagatelle, Fort Seja, and Point Carib on Sunday, October 20th, while National Wop Duet Pageant will take place on Thursday, October 24th, and Creole Day and Creole Dress Parade has been set for Friday, October 25th. The National Day Parade will take place on November 3rd, while the National Cultural Gala will take place on November 4th, followed by Community Day of Service on November 5th.
Other events include the school's athletic competitions, the art and craft exhibition highlighting breadfruit, in which we feature things made out of the breadfruit tree and food presentations made from the breadfruit. This year we'll stage our third Madame Wop Duet pageant, which will feature the talents of women 60 years and over, and the Miss Wop Duet will be held on the 24th of October. We also have market days with a difference in Marigot, Portsmouth and Roseau, the Tea Matador pageant on October 19th, and Creole in the North on the 2nd of November. In a special way, I encourage Dominicans to wear your Creole wear, especially the national wear of Dominica. I know there are different versions, but we do have a beautiful national wear for both the men and the women, and it is our responsibility to preserve and promote our national wear.
Minister of Culture, Youth and Sports, Honorable Justina Charles stated, during our independence celebration, we as Dominicans will look back on where we were as a colony of Britain and the progress made following the liberation from our colonial masters.
As we continue that mission to build Dominica, we must liberate ourselves from the evil spirits of divisiveness, hate, self-centeredness, vilification, among others, and redirect that energy into promoting a greater level of patriotism, peace, unity, love, and respect for ourselves as a people under God.
She is urging all Dominicans to participate in the independence activities. This is what the Londonderry playing field in Marigot looked like as the United Workers' Party celebrated their 25th anniversary in front of thousands of loyal supporters on Sunday, September 29th. Leader of the UWP, United Workers' Party, Mr. Lennox Linton advised the party supporters to fear no more as the UWP is on a path to engage the dynamism of constructive thinking in building the blueprints for a new dynamic society.
Change is a must because we are not the responsibility of China, Venezuela, or any other nation. We are responsible for the determination of our foreign policy from within and to ensure it is not imposed from outside. Together, we will act in our own enlightened self-interest and partner honestly and effectively with members of the family of nations who share our passion for the advancement of global civilization.
He said the party sees the need to revive Dominica's one strong agricultural sector through technological advances, renewable energy projects, effective realigning of Dominica's tourism product and strategy, and the introduction of ICT, information communication technology. On the subject of economic growth, the UWP will host the first ever Nature Island Economic Summit from October 21st to 25th, with the main focus being job creation. Mr. Linton advised the supporters that the planned election of Mr. Charles Savre for President of Dominica by the government is unacceptable to the people of Dominica, and the UWP will not stand for it.
It comes without any attempt by the Prime Minister, as is required by the Constitution at Section 19(1), to consult with the Leader of the Opposition on his joint nomination. And that is the very first step of the constitutional process, failing which it would then be necessary to put the matter to a parliamentary vote. The constitutional crisis into which we have been plunged yet again is worsened by the truth and fact that Savre's record as an incurable and destructively hostile partisan, intolerant of different views against and violently against the right of opposing political parties to exist, makes him a totally unfit and improper person to serve as the President of the Commonwealth of Dominica.
According to former President Nicholas J. O. Liverpool, the President is the embodiment of the state, the esteemed non-party representative of the nation as a whole. In Mr. Linton's view, Mr. Savre cannot be the embodiment of the state or the non-party representative of the nation as a whole and does not qualify to be president.
This is the very same man who has sworn to an affidavit in the court claiming that because Dave Bruni is a supporter of the United Workers' Party, he cannot sit on the Integrity in Public Office Commission. Those who support Charles Savre are in court fighting against the right of people placed on the Integrity Commission by the United Workers' Party to serve on the Integrity Commission because they are claiming political bias. So they don't want political bias in the Integrity Commission, but they want political bias in the presidency, and we will not stand for it. We are therefore calling on Mr. Savre to do the only good thing he has ever done for Dominica and withdraw from this unconstitutional bid to have him installed as president.
The UWP leader made it very clear that if Mr. Savre is appointed President of Dominica, they will not respect him as such, highlighting they will not stand when Mr. Savre arrives at any function or patronize functions where the President is involved. We will ensure that he is Kerrit's President, but not our President for Dominica, Mr. Linton explained. The United Workers' Party nominee for President, he noted, is former principal of the Convent High School, Ms. Dorothy Levy, who topped a poll on a local website for President with 35%, while 33% voted for Sir Brian Alleyne, 13% for Mr. Alwyn Booley, and 10% for Mr. Charles Savre. In other stories, despite strong opposition from the United Workers' Party, and other members of the public, former Minister of National Security, Mr. Charles Angelo Savre, was elected as Dominica's president on Monday, September 30th. Although no members of the United Workers' Party attended the sitting, Mr. Savre was elected by 19 members of parliament. However, Mr. Ian Douglas, Mr. Julius Timothy, Mr. Ronald Tulo, and Ms. Tammy Jajak, members of the present government, were absent. Leader of the UWP, Mr. Lennox Linton, and opposition leader Honorable Hector John said nominated Mr. Savre is unconstitutional.
Section 19(1) of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Dominica provides that when there is less than 90 days remaining in the term, and or if the president, when you're electing a president, I don't have the Constitution in front of me. The step number one is for there to be consultation between the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition on a joint nominee. Some interesting things happened. The first nominee we had from the government was Alex Boyd Knight. The Leader of the Opposition disagreed. And when it got to the point where Parliament was going to be advised on the 12th that there was no agreement, 2 days before that, Boyd Knight withdrew or was discarded, as the case might be. So a new nominee from the government came into the picture. The consultation cannot be about all and sundry. It has to be about one particular individual at a time.
He said the government used the disagreement on Mrs. Alex Boyd Knight for president, which was also used for Mrs. Jennifer Lafont and now Mr. Charles Savre, when there need to be consultation for each nominee, as stated in Section 19(1) in the Constitution of Dominica. However, Dominica's Attorney General, Mr. Levi Peter, disagreed that the appointment of Mr. Savre was unconstitutional.
Whenever the office of the president is vacant, or the term of office of the president is due to expire within not more than 90 days, the Prime Minister shall consult with the Leader of the Opposition as to their joint nomination of a suitable candidate for election as president, which is what you've said. And we both agreed that that happened in relation to Alex Boyd Knight, the Speaker, and there was not agreement. I think, as I understand it, we all agreed on that. As a result of that, the Prime Minister, as he's required to do by subsection 3, if the Prime Minister is unable to agree with the Leader of the Opposition, and note if the Prime Minister is unable to agree with the Leader of the Opposition, not the other way around, as to the joint nomination of a candidate for election as President, he, the Prime Minister, shall notify the Speaker to that effect, and the Speaker shall inform the House accordingly. The Prime Minister did so, notified the Speaker notified members of the House, or the clerk did, by sending out a notice to members of the House, requiring them to attend for a sitting of the House, which members of the House, both from the opposition side and the government side, did.
Mr. Peter added there was no obligation on the Prime Minister to consult with the opposition as it relates to either Mrs. Lafont or Mr. Savre. In response to what the Attorney General stated, Mr. Linton said he and his colleagues are playing games of convenience with the Constitution of Dominica. In more news, Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit has voiced his dissatisfaction in the frequency of what he deems unnecessary arguments in Dominica.
Instead of putting our positive energy, or energy rather, into positive things that can uplift ourselves, our nation and our people, I find too much of our time is spent attacking each other, criticizing each other, and being too negative and critical of Dominica. Each one of us must do some introspection during our celebrations of our 45th anniversary of independence. And we must ask ourselves a simple question. What have I done for Dominica lately? What is it I have done to make my country a better place to live in? What have I done to assist my neighbor who might be less fortunate? What have I done for this country that has given us, each one of us, what we have today?
Mr. Skerrit said he heard persons cursing Dominica, forgetting that it is this very country that our senior citizens worked hard by toiling the soil to build roads and schools.
I say to our young people that we have to take on the challenge of remaining focused amidst all the distractions that are going around us. We have to remain positive. We must have a vision and a plan for our lives and for our country. And education is important. Education is important, and I urge all our young people that they must take advantage of the many opportunities in education. But one of the things I would like to mention here this evening has to do with the issue of the challenges which normally have before the courts in respect to dual citizenship to be a representative in the Parliament of Dominica. I believe at 45 years we must critically examine our constitution and see where we need to make certain constitutional amendments to foster a better way of life for people in Dominica.
He said persons living in North America who maintain their Dominican citizenship should be able to vote at general elections and be part of the public administration, and for those who believe otherwise, it is unfortunate. The Prime Minister is of the view that the ambiguity in the Constitution needs to be removed as it relates to the persons with dual citizenships representing their country.
Because this is a large and vast reservoir of talent that we have, and people who are prepared to come forward and make a contribution, we should not expect them to give up everything that they have worked hard in the United States of America to achieve, just to come back to make a contribution.
I really wish we can engage ourselves on issues important to Dominica, as everything we talk about, we cannot disagree. We all need to pray for nation building, and he is prepared to engage anyone who is serious about advancing Dominica's development, as managing this country is not easy. This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.